right back into it, but the little app is updating. I hate that. I hate that.
Has anyone noticed that Mandy names a stream something and then shortly after the name gets changed?
Yeah.
God,
Today
you
I
look
tried.
good. You
Thank
look,
you.
you
I
look
tried to make
good.
it really, really interesting.
You just look good. That trumps everything.
You said Trump.
Not Donald Trump.
He had sex with Stormy Daniels.
Did she make America horny again?
Yes.
Okay.
Have y'all watched the documentary yet on
beautiful.
Peacock?
Beautiful.
Have you watched it yet on Peacock? Stormy Daniels. Oh wait, hold on. So it's updating my app, and I don't like it when it does. Oh, now it's back. I wanted to show you guys something. There's 9 people watching, and it's so irrelevant.
It's so fun. Yeah. Be good. We'll let them
Read. Oh, you have to read.
Hold on, let me get to this. I was just reviewing my basketball stuff. The Warriors play the Mavericks, my Mavericks. Every time the Dallas plays, I'm going to wear one of my Dallas shirts. They play at 10 o'clock. They play the Warriors. They've asked the Warriors to come out and play.
That was my high school mascot. Hey, Jelly Belly. I missed a lot of people.
Yeah, people are coming in. You're like 9, and I looked up there and I was like,
Karen.
We have it.
Hey, Aziz. Yes, rattlesnake hands. Oh, no. It went to another ad.
It did. I have a Vivo.
Loretta says, Sean, let me start out by saying I have really admired the way you have taken the high road, but we've made room for you down here to drag a beast. We need you to come on down now.
Okay.
We're going to get to that. I want to show you guys something. So this came in an Ipsy thing. Ipsy, for those, they're kind of like a bark box, but it's for girls, for those who don't know. So,
a bark box.
So I was like, oh, cool. It's a little lip thing. And I was like, I didn't pay much attention to it. And for a couple of days was trying to say, there's not really any color or whatever, but it's lightweight. That's good. Y'all, it's a perfume.
She thought it was lip balm.
It's a perfume. And it actually smells really good. But when I say it's embarrassing how many times I put it on my lips thinking that's what it was. But it smells good. $69 on Amazon. But if y'all got it in your Ipsy thing, smell it. If you hate it, send it this way.
Hey, PBG Cat.
I think that there's a lot of exciting things to talk about.
There is.
Well, no, I mean,
we could have like
that's coming.
25 minutes worth of music like some YouTubers do.
Everybody's having fun with that artificial intelligence stuff to make it pictures of each other.
They can make some pretty accurate pictures though too.
Yes. Right? Hey Clancy, here for the mess. But the embarrassing thing is I was like, oh, it's lightweight, but I don't know how well it's y'all, like for a whole bunch of times. And it was nothing. It was the perfume. It's just the lid.
She's like,
yeah. It's a good summery smell.
Is it?
Yeah, do you like it? No, I don't have that one on. I have the one I always wear when we go live.
So Mandy is drinking Fruit Splash Canada Dry, which I have to admit, there's 2 things that I drink that don't have caffeine in it. One is Starry, because it just hits different, right?
Aziz. Yeah.
And now the Canada Dry, that's pretty good stuff.
Back in my vodka days, no, I probably would have mixed, I would probably rum with this. I'm not sure.
She said you're rocking that
Thank you. So, hey, Black Dragonfly.
Hey, Black Dragonfly.
Yeah, Greg Dayton, man, you got it bad for Robin. If she's not responding, you got to move on, right?
Greg, you can come in here. There's plenty of nice gals in our chat.
Well, and he'll like completely dox himself. Hey, here it's Greg from blah 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 blah, and everybody's like, "Don't go into that
245
chat.
Jones Street."
Exactly. It was like, Greg, don't do that. Thank you for those of you. We got a lot of cool people ordered that self tanner that I talked about. It's Saint Tropez the Mousse.
Saint Tropez.
Saint Tropez the Mousse, and people are like said that they ordered it because they liked it. So I got to figure out how you can tag that in here, because sometimes if they notice that you're tagging it until they realize we're in a drama.
You put it in a hashtag at the end, like put it in the hashtag. Yeah, I'll take care of that. See what Mandy does is she's kind of like the technical person that gets everything ready, but then I keep up with all the comments and I do all the hashtags, and we're a pretty good team.
So when you tell me what a piece of shit I am, I don't ever see it. Not
me.
No, but I mean, I don't ever see it. He gets it before I see it. we are going to do a story time. There are a couple of things though that are of merit to mention.
Yeah.
Foodie Beauty. I know a lot of you probably watch her. She's like back on the grid again. I guess she got like struck or whatever. And now her visa's messed up or whatever. Let me tell you, I'm neither here nor there with her. I think that she's boring. But what I love is that she's got the YouTube underground Yaba by the purse strings. She's like, I will loosen them when I want you to get something, but when I don't, I'll tighten it. And isn't that the problem with basing your entire channel?
And that's not, it's more than one channel.
Right.
That I'm not just, when this,
Hey, Reachable.
in this, I'm tongue tied. In this particular situation, it's Yaba, aka YouTube Underground, aka Sam's better half, right? That sort of built the channel over reviewing Foodie Beauty. And
Hey,
what
Kelly.
Mandy is talking about is Foodie Beauty can really affect the content by just not giving any content.
And I'm like, so whether it was whatever, but yeah, I find her. Hey, Melissa. We did hear about the storms. I've been looking at, they might be blowing in, but not like.
I mean, even the Braves game, the Braves are on, they're playing in Chicago, and people were thinking, because Presley, if she's here, didn't they have snow up there where she was?
Yeah, she really pretty snow too. I know she's tired of it for the season.
Yeah,
but
so
really pretty
the
snow.
Braves are on in the other channel, and in the other room, and they've got the little face masks on and all that while they're playing. So it must be pretty.
Melissa wants to know, didn't you mean your bigger half when you talked about Yaba?
I don't know who's bigger. I really don't. I mean,
who was it that made such a comment about? I don't know. The other thing, the perfume's name is Barbie. It's Barbie. You can get it on Amazon. It's they sent out a sample with
Hey,
like
Kelly.
is it Ipsy or Epsy? They sent out a sample with it. Hey, chicklets, and that's where I smelled it. I like it. It's a good scent. It's not overwhelming. It's not whatever.
Reachable's here for the story time. Yeah,
I know. We are going to get to that.
We're going to get to that, and there's a reason why we're telling.
Where
it
are my
too.
blonde friends here? Where are my blonde friends that were not born blonde? Anybody, like most people won't, like, will admit to that. You learn fairly on when you do blonde highlights and stuff or color your hair blonde. If you don't have a hairdresser's like certification or don't ever fuck with blonde from a box. Like,
don't do it
y'all
yourself.
Hey, Spacia.
Don't do it yourself.
But
right?
From a box, it is so touchy the way that you do it. And I'm like, I told Sean when we got together, I said, if I tell you that I can color my hair and do my highlights myself, that is a no-win. I will try to do it. I will mess it up.
It was a two-parter. She said, first of all, my hair's got to get done.
My hair is, it's
she
a
said,
high
so
maintenance
if I
thing.
say that I'm just going to go out and do it like if we're in Walmart and I'm passive aggressively looking at like stuff for my hair,
right?
That means, because my job is to go, no, baby, don't do that.
Exactly.
I'll take care of that.
I
will go make an appointment.
I'll go to. I use this comparison a lot in AA. I'm like, okay, talking about whether or not you can go to a bar if you're in sobriety. I'm like, it's like this. I'll go to Sally Beauty and think, oh, I think I can do this myself. And I'll look around, and if I hang out there long enough and I look at the stuff on the shelf and I look at the developer, I'll go, I can do this. Yeah. I can do this. And I will take the shit home and I will fry my hair. And I always say that as a comparison, like same comparison as in a bar. You can hang out there, but if you stay there long enough, you're going to think you can do your own hair.
I see a lot of oranges in the chat. Did it turn out like an orange color?
It turned really, really orange.
So what you can expect is when it happened, when I was with her, she shaved her head and said she had cancer afterwards.
And she goes, I could always have an epic meltdown and shave my head again. I'm like, bitch, you just admitted your whole story was you know what I mean? Hey, Miss Christy. So here is, okay, let me tell you.
Hey, Stitching colors her hair brown.
Stitching. Yeah, I'm seeing all kinds of people never from a box.
Right, but
the blonde
what
from
we're
a box.
saying stitching is not blonde. You mean
Yeah.
people can do their own hair, but just don't.
I colored my hair dark.
I'm gonna try it.
I colored my hair dark when we got together because I didn't want. It was during COVID or something.
It was gorge too,
and
man.
I didn't.
I was going back to those pictures and I was like, oof. You look. It was. I mean, you look good. Period. There's different layers and different categories of gorgeous in this woman. I mean, there's the cheekbones from the gods, right? There's the lips, the lipstick. There's the hair. There's just different, and any combination just adds to the already, beautification, I guess. That
Babe, I'm a sure thing.
I know. I'm not trying to.
I always say that. I'm always like.
But you guys know what I'm saying. Like, so
I appreciate it. Hey, my ear starter.
What we need to do is we're gonna find some of those pictures when you went brunette and just put them on the community page, and you guys can decide. It was amazing.
He likes dark hair though too. He's a fan of dark hair. I think it's because of the hairband days. A lot of dark haired females were in the videos, right?
There's just something about dark hair. I mean, it
And he liked when I first hair dry my hair and it's all frizzy, sticking straight up like the big hair from the 80s. Yeah. He's like, that looks good. I'm like, no. I'm gonna straighten
big hair,
it.
and I'm like, big hair, that's good.
I'm catching your y'all are saying like they're hilarious.
I mean, we're just leading into it.
Well, when you were walking in today, he had his credit card in his mouth because his hands were full, and I don't know if he was paying the bill or what he was doing. And you were walking, I was like, God, he's even hot walking with his stuff with his credit card in his mouth. So see, I do feel that way.
I mean, it's so cool. I mean, at least once a day, I realize how, like, you go through this phase where you realize how much you love somebody, and then depending on where you are or how you are in your head, some people, and I can remember me in the past in other relationships when you worry, it's like there's anxiety. I mean, with you at first, it was like, man, I love this girl, and I've never loved anybody quite like this. And I would just think to myself, there's no way that she can feel the same way. There's no way,
I do.
But now it's just grateful, and like I think about it, and I know because you show me all the time.
I do. I totally adore you. Hey Kelly, you scared the hell out of me when you said you were exiting stage left. You were sick of YouTube. You were deleting your channels. I got taken by about 5 different I'm leaving YouTube or social media yesterday. There was a whole bunch of different, and I fell for every single one of them.
There was a few like Twitter channels. It's like we're leaving YouTube or we're shutting this down. It's like they even did Keemstar passed away as an April Fool's thing. Did you guys see that on Twitter? Keemstar, and someone started the day, rest in peace Keemstar, and of course it's so hard to pull off any kind of April Fool's thing, especially on social media.
No one quits YouTube. You're right.
And and especially like in the workplace, if you're in the workplace or whatever, April Fools can work, but it's hard to do it on social media because as soon as you turn on Facebook or Twitter or whatever, don't start. There's 10 people saying that they're done.
They're leaving. Come here.
So.
But y'all didn't come here for that.
Oh no, Sawyer. Go get your toy.
I'm gonna first of all. We're gonna talk. He's gonna talk about it. We're gonna answer questions, but let me tell you some of the background of like where it's coming from.
One thing before we start. So we were kind of going through. This is something for you guys to comment on. So One Wen this is some attention to One Wen. She was live and she's really on one. I mean, she's at that part of it's kind of the manic part of her cycle. And Randy was sitting there on panel and I didn't even know. I was hearing it, but I wasn't looking at it. And after about 3 or 4 minutes, I said to Mandy, I was like, so Randy's not on panel? And Mandy was like, oh, Randy's there, but Wendy is just steamrolling her. She's just not letting her talk at all. And I was like, oh, this is the part of Wendy's cycle where she's just blah, 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 blah. But I thought about it for a minute and I said to Mandy, can you ever remember a time when Wendy was talking about something that like happy or positive? Like every time you turn her on, she's just railing on somebody. Yeah. She's just rah, 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 rah. I mean, even Randy talks about going camping and in her personal life a little bit. Have you guys ever heard a stream from Wendy where she comes on and talks about how great her day was, or going shopping, or
Other than
doing
their icebreaker when they
right?
start.
You know,
but
it's just it just doesn't. I mean, that's what she's anyway. That's what Wendy does. And I said to Mandy, an observation was she needs to do this. This is her interaction with people. This is how to get out all like like you have snarky coworkers, and you know they have certain days where they're just really mean to people. YouTube. Anyway, that was my
No, you're good.
my observation.
1 second. I'm gonna get his chew thing. That's
Yeah.
what he's asking for.
So I'm sitting there and I'm kind of watching the Braves, and I hear this on in the background. I had no idea that Randy was even on panel. And Wendy's going after somebody that Randy wasn't trying to beef with. So she's like, Randy, do you have anything to say about that? And she goes, well, no, I'm talking to her. We're trying to work out. Who was it?
Happy or something.
Somebody named Happy. And so, like I said, I got the game on it, but I'm hearing it in the background. And finally, I'm like, they're just, first of all, Randy is so unenthused to even be on One Wins panel. It's a different energy. Number one, because Wendy's not letting her get in a word edgewise. Like I said, I didn't even know she was on panel, but I got it. This is Wendy's workout. This is like her. This is what she does. She has to have some interaction with other human beings, and this is it. So there you have it. But I can't remember a time where she came on or she had a stream that was, hey guys, let me tell you about my vacation, or let me tell you about this, or let me tell you about that. And before someone says, well, it's none of your business. Yeah, they want stuff like this to be everyone's business.
And they want the views and stuff. So that's the main reason why they don't talk about that. We won't carry a ton of people if we don't, touch on drama or whatever. But some people will listen to us. Quite a few people will listen to us. So yeah, I was giving him. He likes those soup, but not a real soup bone. They're like Rachel Ray soup bones or whatever it is.
But then the other thing is that you never know who Wendy's talking about. She could be going on and on and on, and she just assumes that everybody knows what she's talking about. She's got to go back and go, I'm talking about whatever. Anyway, that was my 2 cents. I wanted to mention that because
hey, Debbie,
it's good to see you. I don't remember anything other than her, calling someone vile names, or calling someone a liar, or, just being really critical of, it's the same words for every single person. For when she's talking bad about Mandy, when she's talking about Laura, like Perplexed, when she's talking about Republican Ash, which I don't understand why they keep going after this woman. The woman is like, she's a Christian who says she doesn't like drama. She's got some issues. They go for her a lot, and I guess it's because they know the low-hanging fruit will fire back. That's what they do, and she's not low-hanging fruit. Don't get us. I don't mean it that way. I mean it like they know it's, that splash. She's going to respond, is what I mean. Right. They go for the people that they know can. All right, Republican Ash is someone who makes content, but she will respond. And she'll respond if we talk about her. So let's talk about her. Well, when they go Bible verse for Bible verse. Yeah, that's weird. There's no room for Bible verse in totally drama unrelated to what we were talking about. I know. Did you? No. Gosh. Are you guys there? Hold on. We're gonna have to get this party started because I think the storm is coming in. Do you see us? It looks like we're back. Okay. Can you see and hear us? Okay, guys. I hope so. Okay, so when like he tells what this story or whatever, I'm not going to. Well, I was just saying that Mayor's daughter had come in and said, "Hey, yay!" She said, "Little fella's a green belt. You keep going." Yep. That's awesome. Yep. That is so cool. I don't want to say little fella's name. And it's huge for self-esteem. Yeah. When boys know how to. I would shout out little fella, but I think that. There's people out here that might be leaning in that don't like us, so I'm not gonna. Yeah. But I know Big E. I am so like picky about making sure we catch all the chats and everything because I don't want people to think we don't notice. But when he's telling this, I'll glance at it, but I probably am not gonna like make sure that you know that we saw it, but we are seeing it. Recently that old
photographed, I mean, that old photocopy of a person of interest photo, which is literally what it was, made its way back up again. The truth of that night is fairly interesting. There's a couple of events that this story time is going to entail. One of them is when she pulled her shit in Navy housing.
Right.
And then the other one is that person of interest photo and who actually ended up being the aggressor and how that went.
The thing about it, like every year since we've been together, about this time, that picture comes out. And I always, first of all, I want to say to everybody when that happens, that tunes into that and watches that, I appreciate you guys having concern for it and letting me know, that you don't appreciate what she's doing over and over. I can assure you that I'm not worried about it. I just want y'all to know. And here's why. Every time it pops up, I say this, I'm like, sooner or later, it'll reveal itself. Well, apparently this I guess she left a date on it. So, the time when she had me thrown in jail was 2012. This picture was from 2010. And, there's another YouTuber, that content creator was like, well, you don't really want to talk about too much about that because people will
there was 2 or 3.
Yeah, there was a couple of them that were like, people are just going to use that as a reason to double down by saying, well, there was more than one event. That's fine. There was lots of events. Lots of different events. And so for people to say, and so I just preface it by saying, when people are in her life, whether they're boyfriends, baby daddies, husbands, there's always going to be drama in that particular man's life. So, and when they exit her life, all of a sudden their life gets better. And so when people come back and say, well, there was more than one event. Yeah, there's more than one event for Bob Vance, for John Ferreira, for Sean Kirley, for Clint, for whoever,
for
other
landlords,
boyfriend, every landlord
everybody.
that she's ever had. I sat here with Mandy and I said, and so we moved to North Carolina in 2004, 5, 6, 7 different places that I was paying rent for.
At different times, or the same time.
A couple of them at the same time. In that 6 years, and and none of the landlords were like we were cool with, at the end of it. And so, how many times has that happened since I've been gone? How many places? So if you add them all up, so when people say there's domestic situations or there's events, there always is in her life. It doesn't bother me that someone's going to say, well, because there's 2 different pictures, there's 2 different events. So what? I mean, but I'm going to explain tonight what one of those events was, that picture that she shows, and what happened that night, and why it exists.
Whatever this timestamp is, someone keep it so that we can put, that's when we started talking about it, was this timestamp. Okay.
So that event where that picture, that was in 2012, and I believe it was in May. I think she even had the picture on there. And I had only started dating her in September, end of August, beginning of September of 2019. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 or 8 months into our relationship, this event happened. I'm not sure what precipitated, the event. I don't know, but it was in my Navy housing at, and I'll even give you the address. It was 444 Warley Street, Warley. You can look it up.
Y'all, it was officer housing.
There was enlisted in it. It was Navy
I
housing.
thought it was mainly
4444 44s Warley Street. You can put it right in Google. It'll take you straight to the address.
But that wasn't the Niagara one.
No.
Okay.
No.
This is a different one. Go ahead.
So when people are looking up, newspaper clippings for where I got thrown into jail, they'll get a Niagara Street address. It's just
a space.
And actually, there was 2 different events on 2 different nights on Niagara Street. So I never really, whenever this popped out, I am fairly sure that at some point in the last 2 or 3 years, there's some group. There was YouTubers that decided to report on it. Owl did, Sam did. People were saying this arrest or whatever, and they were trying to put it together. I'm pretty sure at some point, one of these people actually ran it to ground to like Rhode Island Department of Corrections or Judiciary System, North Carolina, whatever. And they found the discrepancies. I'm sure somebody did. So I waited for somebody to go, oh, this, but nobody did, but it went away. It always goes
Yeah.
away because somebody does, because I don't have a police record and it doesn't exist. Truth Finder, you can find stuff that happened to people. It doesn't mean. So anyway, 444 Warley Street, we get into an altercation, a domestic situation where she has the police come to the house and they take me away.
Whose house was it?
It was my house. And whenever you're in like military housing, they're going to take the service member and remove them from the house. Now, this is where it gets tricky. This was my house and I wasn't married to TT at this time. I should have never been removed from that house. And I'll get to it. But this police force, John Ferreira was a member of this same police group, the same Navy police force that came to the house.
Who's that?
John Ferreira, my stepdaughter's biological father.
Yeah.
So when these people came to the house and responded to this call, they knew who she was. They knew who she was. But they said to me, you're going to have to leave the premises for 48 hours or whatever. It was on a Friday. So I left. And the whole time I'm telling the police, I'm telling my command, I'm telling everybody, that's my house. That is my house. So I stayed away from the house, and she, throughout the weekend, just moved stuff out of that house. My stuff, mostly my stuff, out of my quarters. Finally, on that Monday, I was able to get the police and go to the management office. They went in there and they verified she's not even on the lease. Not even on the lease. So they go and they attempt to remove her from my property, 4444 Warley Street. And they go to the place and they attempt to tell her, you have to leave the premises. Now, I don't know what they said or how they said it, but as we're standing about 150 yards away, an ambulance pulls up in front of the house.
Yeah.
So she pulls her shit, an ambulance pulls up, they put her in the ambulance, and they take her away by ambulance. I am now allowed to go back into my quarters, and I get the whole, she was never supposed to be here. She's not on the lease. I mean, I was separated from Jessica at the time. She's like, I have shit still in there. The girls, it was a mess. And so they removed her from the premises. I went able to go into my home and into my quarters and make heads or tails of what was left of what was inside. A lot was gone. That picture that she's showing is part of that event. That picture, because of everything that happened, then I moved back. I went back into my house. I filed a report against her. And this is where it gets, I mean, you guys are just going to slap me all through this because,
yeah.
I mean, it's pretty, I was pretty on the hook and I didn't, I mean, everybody else is like, all right, she pulled her shit. This was in 2010. This was way before any of y'all knew who she was. So I go back in there and I have baseball cards, 1956 Topps baseball cards missing. I have 800,000 Iraqi dinar that I brought back from Iraq gone. And those are the two things that stick out in my mind. Some of the other stuff that maybe, I don't know, sports memorabilia, I don't know, some stuff that I don't even remember. But those were the things that I remember where I called the cops over and I said, I made a police report for it. Okay. And then they went on their way. About a week after that happened, and she's wherever, I think she ended up going inpatient is what happened.
Really?
She kind of fell out at the DMV. Okay. Yeah, she went inpatient. They started what's called an Army Regulation 15-6 investigation. That's important because you can Google that. And what happens when they do an AR 15-6 investigation is they hire Army officers that aren't in your command to come in and investigate, much like investigators would do in any case. So the reservist that they had come in to do the report, in my case was it was a reservist, but he was part, I think if I understand correctly, New Jersey State Patrol investigator.
Okay.
So if there's something that I need to answer, you can
no, I told him that keep your answers, keep your questions, and he'll answer it.
So they did an AR 15-6. Now, during this whole time, The Army's doing an investigation. The Navy is doing an investigation because it was in their housing. And they've got a commissioned officer in a domestic situation with a known
Psychopath.
offender.
Yeah.
Because John Ferreira lost his job on that police force, on that same force, for getting into similar situation that I was in.
I didn't know that.
He had to leave.
I
He had
didn't
to
know
leave that situation. I don't know all the ins and outs of that. And then to put it into perspective, that man was a colonel that worked at the same building that I was working at the time, and that's how I first met the Beast.
He took the boss's mistress.
Yeah,
Let's just say it how it was. He just said, you know what?
I did. I mean,
Anyway.
that sounds real cool at the time, but
Hey y'all.
I did him a favor.
Yeah.
And if I ever see the man again, I will tell him that I'm, you know, that my actions were
and
inappropriate.
beyond, like, we'll finish, but what was like the static, like your life at that time when she kind of came into it? Your life was in chaos.
My life was a wreck.
His professional, everything was in chaos.
I had, I don't want to get into the event, but a couple of years prior to that, something had happened in my professional life and this and that. My marriage was over. I was not doing well here. I had been untreated for my time in Iraq. Everything. I mean, I was a hot mess. And, you know, malignant narcissists will come right in, will swoop straight into a situation like that. And I mean, I think that Clint, Gabby's husband, I think he was in a similar situation.
He was newly separated.
Yeah, he was
That's
newly
how
separated.
She found him on Tinder. He was newly separated.
Not to drag him.
And he needed a place to stay, and that's what.
Very, very similar situation. She said, "Ooh,
so
I got me a high-ranking Marine NCO."
Right, and then so after getting back to the thing, so when they were doing the investigation and they figured out that she had been the aggressor.
Well, yeah. So the AR 15-6 investigation, and I'm waiting for it because, you know, the whole time this happens, people, she calls me from wherever inpatient she's at because they're releasing her, and my dumbass goes and picks her up. Okay, so there's that.
And he takes accountability for that.
I mean, I went and she grabbed me straight up. So these normal people are doing an Army investigation, and the Navy's doing their stuff for the theft at the same time, and they're both. The Army was like, whatever. They were just trying to figure out what they want to do about me, but the Navy was like, we got this bitch. We now got her in a situation where it does appear like she stole something. It does appear like we're going to be able to investigate her for theft
on a federal.
And so they're kind of. If I digress for a second, after the event happened later on that weekend, I got blue lighted when I was on post. I got pulled over, and the police officer pulled me over just to tell me. And I know this sounds, you know, like I'm exaggerating, but he pulled me over, and, you know, I'm like, what can be going wrong now? And he said, I just want you to know, and he called me sir because I was a captain. He said, I want you to know, sir, we know what's going on. And we're going to go through the process, but we understand what's going on. And that, I would never think that a police officer or would ever say that to somebody, but these people all knew John Ferreira.
She had been a problem.
Yeah,
for
she had been a problem in that
time.
police force with being with members of that police force or that security force, because they're not full-fledged, you know, police officers that cost at least one of them their job.
Yeah.
So they weren't against me. You know, they weren't like they kind of understood what was going on. So during this time, I am now, you know, getting in the process of getting back with her, working it out, right? We're going to go to therapy, and the Army, the AR 15-6 investigation comes out. They get, now the picture of me was from the Navy. That the one that she's floating around was the Navy took, gave it to the Army. There's also pictures of Trisha. There's also pictures of TT. The same thing.
The same file
areas,
that she pulled
same
that one
file.
out of has pictures.
There's pictures of her.
It was a person of interest
Right.
photo. It was not a mugshot.
It was the subjects.
From 2010.
The subjects of the investigation. And so the the Army finishes their investigation and they give me some of it. And basically, I got in trouble because my marriage, my divorce was not final to
Right.
Jessica. The only thing, they didn't get me for any kind of domestic. They didn't, but they had to give me some sort of accountability. But the findings of the investigation, one of these YouTubers that gives a shit, should go to Newport Naval and I'll try to get the exact dates and try to get a copy of it.
The exact dates are on
because
it.
she has a copy of it.
Right. And that year is important to remember, 2010.
2010.
2010.
So.
Right, Karen.
So the Army 15-6 investigation is out. It says it's blah, 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 blah. Captain Kirley was not divorced from Jessica at the time. And that's really the only thing. And it was kind of like a localized thing that went away.
And everyone got in trouble.
Nobody, yeah, that's the other thing I'll talk about. There is an ensuing investigation, big investigation in my Army unit, which as an officer, I mean, people look down at me because you caused this, because you were in this event. TT called my commander and said, you're getting Captain Kirley in trouble for what happened, but John Ferreira, I am the mother of that man's child, and he's an officer in your command, and he was married when I fathered the child.
And they were never separated.
Or when when he fathered the child, and he was never separated from his wife and never had. And I feel even bad talking about it now because that man's off living his life somewhere. And, if someone was to go, he'd be like, motherfucker. And I get that. So my bad, dude. But
if he wants to reach out and yell at you, he want to apologize anyway.
Yeah. So the commanding officer at the time was a female, General Karen O'Shaughnessy. And when I was getting ready to retire, she's from the state of North Carolina, and I'll get to that later. I'll get how that happened later. But she was like, is this true? And so, and it was like, yeah, this is true. So there ended up being a big investigation into that as well. So it wasn't just me, it was other field grade officers and the people that they were sleeping with.
And most of it, two of them, it revolved her.
Yeah. It's not important what they found or that,
She's a slut.
But yeah. So there was that. That was another thing. She won't tell you about that. But at the end of the day, the Army was like, okay, Captain Kirley, you're getting ready to retire here in a couple years, right? Just chill. You've learned your lesson. You got burned. That was really it. That's all that happened to me. I wasn't trying to get promoted. I was retiring. I retired in 2012. So this was 2 years before I was retiring. They were like, you got it. You got it. You got burned. This is what's up. Now live and learn. And I got back with it.
And he's like, but I love her.
But we're going to work this out. So there's that side. So then the Navy comes along and says, all right, we need to start the investigation on this theft. And I say to the Navy, we're going to work this out. I don't want to cooperate with that. I don't want to be, I was the witness. I was the victim of the theft. I do not want to cooperate with this.
So what'd they say?
They said, oh my God, what do you mean? We have her. We can finally get her. She's going to go around and keep doing this to you and keep doing this to other people. We're going to get sick of her doing it to you, and we're eventually going to come arrest you. He said, but since you don't want to cooperate, get your shit and get the fuck out of Navy housing. And that's how I left Navy housing. Yeah. So, and that picture that she carries around and tries to tie it to a 2012 incident, because 2 years later I still hadn't learned.
Right.
I still hadn't learned.
So that was 2012. The incident where that incident
was 2010.
No, but the one where you actually did go to jail.
Right. That was 2012.
So those are two totally different events. There was lots of events.
Yeah. So when people say, so when we were mulling this over with a few people about, look, she finally fucked up. She finally put the picture out there with the 2010 date on it. That's all I ever wanted to have happen. They're like, no, because then people are going to say, well, there's been more than that. Just says that's the double down, that there's more than one or two events. I don't give a fuck that they think
There
that.
was
I
a-
don't give it what
right.
anyone thinks.
There was a bunch.
There was a whole bunch.
He didn't learn his lesson,
Yeah,
but none
yeah.
of them did it ever show that he was the aggressor, ever.
I was told in Rhode Island when I left, and I got told in North Carolina when I left for the last time. The police in North Carolina, both the North Topsail police and the Onslow County police, both said, "Dude, we are going to get sick of this happening to you, or sick of coming out here all the time because you two can't get along, or she is who she is." And they know that she beat the mechanic up in court. They know all that stuff. They know all about her. They said this will not end well for you. You just need to know that sooner or later we're going to take you just to keep you guys apart. And I finally left and never came to that in North Carolina. Finally, I just left.
And where'd you go?
I went to Texas.
Into Texas. So the other thing are those black and white pictures of like a hole in the wall. And that pile of shit that she tries to say is like some sort of evidence that Sean destroyed property. It was his house. Yeah. So if he knocked a hole in the wall, it was his wall that he knocked the hole in. I mean, as far, or Navy's wall, but it was like, it was never ever was her house. So that was the most important part of that, is that is not the time when he actually went to jail. So when he went to jail, that's a whole different story. But like he said, this is the first time I've ever heard some of these stories all the way through, because I would get bits and pieces, but it's obviously a time in his life that was a really horrible time. Like he was saying, there's things that happened in his professional life. He had untreated PTSD. So he was prime for the picking, for someone to come in and to medicate him, both like with their personality and their, overt sexuality, as well as literally pharmaceuticals. You know what I mean? Sean takes absolute and total responsibility for the fact that it was a toxic, ridiculous relationship that he should have never been in. And he should have seen the writing on the wall long before he did. But what he will never take responsibility for is that he was ever abusive to that woman. Ever. Because it just wasn't true.
It wasn't.
It wasn't true.
And I'm pretty sure that during our tenure, Mandy and I's tenure here on YouTube in the last 4 or 5 years, there was more than one or two people, here and there that didn't like us or was doing whatever. And they ran this all to ground, and they knew that
exactly. Any black and white picture. Thank you, Presley. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Andy's here, and another person that there's cousin Andy. He's in here. He can corroborate a lot of this stuff.
He's been adding to a lot of
because
it, so.
when this stuff was happening,
yep.
When you say there's this event, there's that event, there's this event, Andy can tell you of multiple weddings and multiple family gatherings that I went to with her, both as her boyfriend and as her husband, Andy being my cousin. And Andy can tell you some of the stuff that she's done, some of the stuff that she had done, like taking, trying to get center stage, trying to get attention at weddings when
Hey Hillcrest.
One of them was Andy's wedding.
Yeah.
So there's just so much. I mean, there's just, so getting back to the support that we've got from you guys, you guys, every once in a while, you especially on our circle, you get with some of our friends, and our friends will get with Mandy and our friends and this and that, and you guys are worried. I can assure you, there is not an entity in North Carolina, legal or any, there is not a entity in Rhode Island, state or federal or whatever. There is nobody that is going to, even if there was credible evidence from her, would act on it at this point because of all the angst. Y'all remember the Gerald Jackson situation, all the angst that she causes the legal system, all the, beating up the mechanic, how she made a mockery and maligned the court system. That was going to go away. That was gonna go away, but she just couldn't.
Sean said that he can't even tell you how many landlords that she has gotten into legal beefs with, where she has made allegations against them for different things. You know what I mean? It's like never ending.
I find it hard to believe that she can still maneuver around Onslow County and the surrounding counties. There has to be a Facebook group or something. It must be a legal thing that landlords can't openly. But it's like a Yelp for landlords.
That's why she can't get her. She's on a local hairdresser's list of how many times she's screwed over hairdressers and asked for their money back. They have a closed Facebook group in that area that services that area that her name is on.
Yeah.
So they won't.
It's amazing that she still exists where she exists and that she hasn't moved on to another part of the country or somewhere that doesn't really know her, because I mentioned six.
I don't know.
Six or seven places when I was with her in North Carolina, and there's had to have been at least twice that since we've been together in the last 4. So when you add it up, there's got to be a couple dozen, 25, maybe more landlords that she has dealt with, that has made contracts with, that, and I don't know if she's ever, I don't know, I don't keep up with her, that's ever seen one through to the end. I saw two of them.
Turn the keys back in and say, thanks, have a good, thank you for the, she abandons every place
she goes off to somewhere else and leaves me. Now, the two that I lived with her at, my condo at the beach there in North Topsail, and then the first little rent house that we had on the river, I saw those through with the landlord after she abandoned the place.
Yeah.
Now the rent house in Verona in Jacksonville,
hey, Susan,
that was actually our house, that has been rectified on my credit, and because people finally understand. First, they don't care; they just want their money. But after a while, it's like the repo, the car that she had repoed, the Volvo. That whole, after a while, when you start working with creditors and you start working with banks, and you first explain it to them, and it's pretty, far fetched and outrageous but then after a while they work with you and they go, this dude is
that's
just
what I'm saying.
He's not bad, he's trying to do what's right,
Every single thing that was on his credit that was from bullshit that she has done, we diligently wrote letters and contested it, and they're gone.
Yep.
So I mean, take that for what it was.
There's still stuff. Mandy will tell you, we don't normally. It's like we discuss things like, if the authorities ever show up at our house, like a quote unquote swatting or whatever, or an agency, we would never tell you guys. It would never be something that makes the live stream.
Right.
Likewise, we quit, like when we first got together, and we had a couple of live streams where we talked about all the credit and stuff and what she'd done. We stopped talking about it and just fixing it. And it's what, the 2nd of April, almost 5 years ago that we met, and they still pop up from time to time. So stuff will pop up, and I've got to call another car company or something. Yeah,
and we get it,
and we just call them.
What so that the person of interest picture that night, were you ever in a jail cell that night?
No.
Okay, so never were you detained for any reason?
No, they detained me. They took me.
But you were not in a.
No, I was.
You weren't booked. You weren't.
Okay, so I left the premises.
Were you booked?
No, I left the premises with the Navy police. They took me down to the Navy area, and they put me in a room. They made me fill out an incident report, and then my executive officer from my command came and picked me up. So between that incident happening in the authorities coming and leaving the police station down there was probably about 3 hours. And sometime in the middle of that 3 hours is when that picture was taken.
Okay.
So.
And okay, you want to talk about 2012?
Well, 2012 is. You guys. People have.
No, but like, what precipitated that?
2012.
If you want to talk about it.
2012 was real easy. I was in a bad blackout phase. They came to the house. There was nothing wrong with her. There was what they arrested me for was called domestic vandalism.
Domestic vandalism.
Vandalism, not anything against her. But what ended up happening is they did take me to jail that night. They released me the next day, and I went home. She was gone, So they said, you can go home. She's not there. She called me on her phone, and I answered the phone, and then she took the phone and she turned it in, said there's been a phone conversation. They were like, who called who? I don't know what she said. They didn't care. There was phone conversation. And that's what they came and arrested me for. Like, that was the incident that, so within like 48 hours, there was 2 incidents.
And she tried to do it again the day after Evita. She called him to come back home or whatever, and then the cops were called. But there was no restraining order.
I called the cops then, and I said, she wants me to go back over there, but I want you to go with me.
Right.
And so they went with me so that she couldn't pull her shit.
And how long were you in jail?
I was in jail about 4 days.
4 days.
Yeah. So, and in the state of Rhode Island, and anyone that's been in trouble in Rhode Island, it's such a small state. It's not set up for you to, they don't set up the local jails, the city jails. In this case, it was the Middletown, Rhode Island jail, to house and feed detainees. They don't have like county jails. So they just send you to the prison. So I went to the prison. And
had to wait till the judge was back, right?
Yeah, it was a long weekend. It was that May weekend. Like, was that, what is that? Labor Day weekend or something? I think we talked, What's the next one that's coming up in May? It's like Labor Day or something.
And then, the second she threw you in jail for that violation, she went to raise money to get you back out.
And that's what the police start to see. Because I'm sitting here waiting to go see a judge, and she's out on the outside rallying for saying, oh, he's a soldier with PTSD, and he had a meltdown. And people are like, well, why the fuck did you call the cops on him?
Why did you call the cops?
Why did you put him? Well, because I had to protect myself. But that, so in a nutshell, what she's been doing every year, and why I never spoke on it until now is I said, eventually somebody, in this case, it was her, that's going to fuck up, and they're going to put the pictures out and have the original dates on it. And that finally happened. So now you know, and if you guys, I think that's the screenshots floating around. So now that little picture that she has of me with that Atlanta Falcons stuff on, it's from 2010.
Oh, it was Atlanta Falcons stuff?
It was it was a Falcons.
I
Atlanta
didn't notice
Falcons.
that.
Yeah, I love that thing too. I don't know what happened to it.
She probably threw it away.
Yeah, and the event that she ties it to aren't the same.
Yeah.
They're not the same. She takes bits and pieces of her time with somebody, and she puts them all together into this one big event, and that's what she does. That's why when she rents a place from somebody, there's never any, when she trashes it or she leaves it or she doesn't pay rent, she tells enough of a story that landlord is like, just get the fuck out. I'll clean the place. I'll fix it. I'll re-rent it. But then what's surprising is 10 days later, she's in another place.
Right. Yeah, Susan, she stole a $600 insurance payout that Sean had on the condom after that she had moved out.
$6,000. $6,000.
Oh, wow. Inked Mom. I no longer believe anything that comes out of her mouth, starting with her
but
sobriety.
You said 600.
If she's sober. I know. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
6,000. I'm the queen of shit. Nice. Inked Mom was over there for a very long time. So that... just one by one, it happens. You know what I mean? The other question, which is absolutely a good question, is...
Duchess says, oh, geez, she rips off it.
Lisa...
That's one of her favorite victims is hairdressers.
Yep. Lisa says, when you rented her the separate I think she meant apartment, were you hoping that she would eventually just move on?
When she went into Jacksonville? When you rented her Jacksonville?
Well, did you pay from the day she moved in Jacksonville?
She went and did everything to get into it. But I paid for it.
Right. And you did it just because she said she needed time.
Yeah. And then right after that, so Dr. Phil...
If I ever told you I need time, you'd be like, that's good, but you better get a job.
Yeah, but I'm way more mentally
I would
healthy.
Never. But you know what I mean? You'd be like, you take your time. Go
Mandy's listening to this going, I know Sean pretty well, and you're right. He would still pay for my shit.
I would never. But... There's a few questions. I'm like, if I missed it,
Memorial Day jelly, yep, in Jelly Bell, and that was the thing, it was a weekend to honor fallen soldiers, people who didn't make it back from whatever, military event where that they lost their lives in. So I sat in jail for that, and it was so.
But they had respect for you. The
Yeah,
people at jail,
it's
that
a
they
whole
looked
story
out for
about
them.
me being there. My 96 hours that I was there, and how I was treated there.
And I can't confirm or deny that Mark from Soft White Underbelly may want him to tell that story at his studio. Just stand by. Anyway.
I mean, I'm still wanting somebody to. I don't know what the laws are on getting investigations from military
Mama Ricky.
installations like Newport on that.
I bet they don't even exist anymore.
I don't know, especially after a few years. I mean, now we're talking about, 14 years ago.
Right. And then there's this other thing, and it was $6,000. I misspoke. She hijacked $6,000 of his payout. Let me go into the thing, because there's the other event, because like we said, there were lots of events. It was a shitty relationship, and she's a piece of work.
I don't know how many times I sat on my balcony in North Topsail Beach while she was over in Jacksonville, railing away, doing whatever on a live stream, and I'm sitting on my balcony with a North Topsail police officer, and and it was going something like, Sean, what? I mean, you're here, she's over there, but you're married to her. How long is this going to go on, bro?
And you were like,
how long, I'm being sent out here to check on you, to do a wellness, to make sure you're okay, because she's over there clearly not okay.
Sean, tell that story where you went to the motel and then she called a wellness check on you. You went to that motel, right?
That's the rent house. This is just a whole other event.
But she kicked you out and then called in a wellness.
One night this was when we lived in North Carolina and we were in the rent house.
And it's not funny, but
we got into a fight. So
let me get my lips off.
She called the police, and I'm like, oh my God. So the police shows up, and the police guy is like, well, you need to go somewhere. I'll give you a ride. So I get in the police car with this guy with my suitcase, and he takes me to a hotel. He's like, yeah, just check in here. I mean, she's whatever. I could tell all kinds of stories. So while I was laying there asleep in the hotel room, there's flashlights at my window, and then there's knocking on my door, and I opened the door, and these cops came in. I didn't know what she had said or what she had done, but evidently once she found out where I was, I don't know how she found out where I was.
Drove around?
And then these cops, and it was an intervention force. There was like 4 of them. Were doing a wellness check on me.
He's like, the bitch just sent me here.
She just threw me out. She goes, well, are you okay? No, I'm not fucking okay. I'm here in a hotel room.
You were like, but I'm not a danger to myself.
Yeah, and they're they come in, not with their guns drawn, but there's no lights on. So they've got their flashlights all on their face, and they're going all over the room and stuff. I mean, guys, when I can tell you, when I heard the double down that, no, you might not want to tell these 2 stories and say there's 2 separate events, because they're just going to say there was 2 different events. There were dozens, y'all.
Mm-hmm.
There were dozens.
The other one that comes up on a search is the one that happened on Niagara. And that was a broken light bulb, right?
There was the domestic vandalism. We lived on Niagara Street.
Oh, I thought you said it was Worley.
Worley Street's the Navy House.
Oh. Okay, now I got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that was, so when you had to get out of Navy housing, y'all went and got like a 2-bedroom apartment, right?
When we had to leave Navy housing, she convinced her grandmother, who was alive at the time, to write her a big check for I believe it was the deposit in 2 months' rent. Mm-hmm. It was a big check. It was like, she got like $6,000 or $7,000. And that's the same thing that she
did with Clint. Come with me. I'm providing a place for you to stay. That's a way that it's one of the basic needs, right? You shelter, food.
2010. Now, I'm not going to share it here, but the event happened in 2010 in Navy housing, the picture. And I've explained to Mandy most of 2010 and how 2010 was probably the darkest year of my entire life. Like, if I had ever considered, ending it, or if I had ever considered, just that was, so June of 2010 is when Jessica drove out of the state with my children, and, took them south. May, 6 weeks before that's when the event happened. And at the time when this was happening, there's nobody in the world that blamed Jessica for doing that. because what I was going through, what had happened, all the reports, there's a lot of time has passed since then, so there's
Did she
different
try to
opinions.
take one out on Jessica too?
She did.
She tried to take a restraining order out on Jessica.
Yeah, she did. And then
Jessica's like, I'll whoop your ass.
yeah, that one didn't stick. Because when you would go into the courtroom, these judges are like, no, we know who you are. But so she got the kids in June and says, we got to, you're with this fucking whack job. I got to take the kids somewhere where they're safe. And there wasn't a person in the world, not my parents, not anybody, that would tell her no at that point. So I went into Ward 8. Boom, 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 boom. Ward 8 at the end of, I had retired, and it was the end of the beginning of 2013, January. So though 2010, I would say, was the darkest time, from 2010 until we left Rhode Island in 2013, I had no skills. The reason I went to Ward 8 is because the event on Niagara Street happened in May of 2012. And I had an event that caused me to get arrested and her doing her shit. Well, in November of that same year, I had another similar blackout. And I was like, this is fucked up, because the same things happened to me again that happened then. But at the second event that happened in 2012, a crisis team showed up. They were like, it's this guy again. He's not, she hadn't called the cops or anything like that. I said, I need help. And they came and they picked me up and they took me to a psychiatric hospital. And then they found me the bed at Ward 8. And I had to make it through the rest of November and December and just make it to January. And then I went to Ward 8. That's a whole other.
The difference.
It made all the difference. I learned how to. I didn't leave her for another fucking 5 years or so. But I'm telling you, moving to North Carolina and being by the beach probably kept me alive. It certainly probably kept me from not getting, the cops just not, the cops not saying we're done with this bullshit and come on. I was always at the beach. I was always at the pier. I was always, hanging out by the water, and it kept me sane. I tell Mandy all the time, we talk about my life with her is as perfect as I could ever expect my life to be now. And what is the one thing that I miss?
The beach.
The ocean.
Yeah.
The ocean is the one thing.
If she would take her ass somewhere else.
Yeah, or there's other oceans.
But I'd probably always have the stigma. They would be like, his wife, and they'd be like, oh God, and they're like, no, it's not that wife. No, it's a different wife.
My life right now is with you here, taking care of my parents in their old age.
We're talking ultimate retirement.
Right, but when I'm in 10 years or whatever, when Mandy and I are saying, okay, where are we going to grow old together? I would like, and I have two beaches in mind. One is Galveston, depending on what's going on here. And, that's the one that sticks in my mind where I'm like, okay, that would bring us back to Texas, and it would keep us close to, and still a hop, skip, and a jump away from mom if in 10 years. But we're not here nor there with that.
We take it day by day or whatever, but we've tossed it around if she would take her ass somewhere else. Maybe right there.
I could go straight into North Topsail Beach. I wouldn't want to move to Jacksonville, but I could go right to North Topsail Beach or South Topsail or somewhere. I don't think it would be the same because we like our chickens, we like our land.
Yeah, I just meant like that.
But, the condo, the 850 square foot condo that I had on North Topsail Beach with you would be an absolute dream. Yeah. It would be. And but
you wouldn't lock me in the bathroom and make me do my makeup?
No. But the beach is really in my life is something that no matter what happens until the day that I am off this planet, that I don't look at. I always look at the beach as I don't like it because I'm not a real spiritual person, but me on the water.
You're spiritual. You're not real religious.
Okay, so I'm spiritual, but that is it for me. You can't move me.
Yes.
It's like when I don't understand someone who gets shit-faced drunk and is running all over the beach. I just don't get it. It is such a calm place.
When did you discover the love of the beach? When you were young?
Oh, yeah. I always knew.
When you retired?
So when I was little, when we lived down in Roswell, we would always take family vacations to, it's called Long Beach. It's in North Carolina. It's near Oak Island. It's kind of near Whiteville. It's kind of near where Rich Life's at.
Oh, is it?
And it's called Long Beach. And a lot of Long Beach got destroyed in one of the hurricanes in the late 80s. But we would go there. I would go to Kiowa Island with my parents, Seabrook Island with my parents. And I just stayed at the beach. I always knew that when I got out of the Army and I got done doing Uncle Sam's, bidding, that I wanted to retire and I wanted to live at the beach. My ex-wife latched straight onto that. And when I retired in 2013, she grabbed my stepdaughter and went to the beach, and knowing that I was going to come with my stepson and we were going to follow them to the beach. And so that's why North Carolina was the place. And that's why North Carolina could be the place again for Mandy and I, because I could go straight back to North Topsail. I could go straight back to the Strip where I worked, anywhere around there. And the couple of times when I've been back for legal things to wrap up my divorce and stuff, it was nothing but smiles from the attorneys. It was nothing but handshakes and how you doing and you look good and who's this?
Yeah.
And I'd introduce them to Mandy. Mandy and I would have no problem.
No.
The only problem would be as if some landlord that I ran into didn't realize that I wasn't with her anymore. And
Well,
they were
that's what
like,
I'm
"Fuck you."
saying. They'll be like, oh God, last name Kirley. I'm like, I'm not new, but I'm new to y'all.
Yeah.
I have to say, it is quite a self-esteem booster when Andy family or friends that he's gotten back, or when they meet me, they're like, oh, it is so good to meet you. And then after they talk to me for a little while and they realize that I'm not a lunatic,
Right.
and they're like, oh my God, then they friend me, in male or female, it doesn't matter. Sean can make friends with anybody. Like, and that's why it's so funny when she says nobody likes him, because literally everyone likes him. Even people that probably shouldn't like him, like him. You know what I mean?
Yep.
They just,
Typically, if I'm not getting along with somebody, let's say at work, it's because there's conflict on something that's going on there or whatever.
okay. Now, those of you who had questions or whatever, you can put them back in, and if we catch them, we'll answer them. I mean, we can keep talking, but I'll
fine.
read them now.
I haven't been keeping up. I've been rambling.
The story about when you watched her pull her shit and get toted off in an ambulance when you just wanted back in your house or whatever, and then you said she went inpatient or whatever. I don't understand how it is that's where she runs, because you have to be a danger to yourself or someone else to be committed for mental health reasons. If you're not there for substance abuse, you have to be a threat to yourself or someone else.
From what I understand, is she passed out at the DMV.
What is the DMV? I thought it was at your house.
No. She passed out at the house and left in an ambulance. She went to the emergency room or whatever. She gets released. From what I understand, she was running around town, and then she finally passed out at the DMV, and they took her from there to the
mental ward.
Yeah, it's what is it? The 8th floor of Newport. I think it's the 8th floor.
Okay.
Of Newport. But initially, when she left my house, she left in an ambulance, but she didn't get admitted anywhere.
Right.
And she ran around for, I guess, 3 days or something like that. And
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't understand. You said that she does run inpatient, but when it gets time to do some work, she wants to leave. She doesn't want to do therapy and med management or anything like that. What was that one? Oh, and we were saying earlier, Sean understands that it was a shitty ass relationship. It should not have continued. He shouldn't have been a part of it. It was toxic on both sides.
Yeah.
It was not abusive,
but
it was toxic.
When people weigh in,
Sean has done a lot of work. He was in intensive therapy in Texas, and he's still in therapy here. So regardless of who was at fault or whatever it is, she if she was truly wants to let go and move on, she would get real honest with herself, and she would go do therapy, and she would do intense. She's not going to, because she doesn't think that there's anything wrong with her.
Well, the other thing is now she's now dated.
Yeah.
She's dated. When I met her, and I don't like to say this because,
Yes.
because she doesn't hold a candle to Mandy. When she came in and got me when I was down, separated, I mean, she's 30 years old. all that stuff that's outdated was, 4.5 years old. It was really easy for a,
Newly separated.
for newly separated, for some 30-year-old, you know, to come in. She's, 9 years younger than me. She said, "I'll take care of you." And it was so easy for that to happen. I mean, I got it. I know Clint probably felt the same way. And I hate
think
to
he
bring
was
him
like-
up, but he was just a lot smarter than me.
I think he did you a solid when he was
did.
like, "You want to watch how this game
Yeah.
works? I'm going to stay on your couch. I'm going to use you for while I use you, and then I'm going to leave you. And when you try to pull your shit,
But I think the
I'm gonna
solid
move
he did me
completely
was,
on."
I think he told her, would you fucking sign those divorce papers? Shut the fuck up and quit talking about your ex and sign those divorce papers.
And maybe we'll have a future.
That's the solid that he did me. That I
Right.
have a feeling if I ever got to meet the guy, that might have happened. That might have been something that happened.
Okay, I am going to ask this question because I've heard it before and I don't know the history of it. Did she have her son punch her and blame it on Sean? Did she have him punch her and blame it on you?
No, she had Braden punch her and then blamed it on Jessica.
Okay.
And that's how Jessica got arrested. And I didn't believe that for so long, and now it just makes perfect sense.
Hey, Sarah. Yeah, I've heard that before in different variations. I don't think he and I have ever talked about it. I didn't have.
So there was an incident. I was at work.
I used to try to put my foot in a hole and throw myself down to go to the emergency room and get pain meds. But hey, that's a whole different story.
That's a whole different
for
love
a whole
affair.
different day.
That's a different love affair.
I did do it one time, and then I realized that was absolutely ridiculous. Someone had told me that that's what they did, was put their foot in a hole and then knocked themselves down, and then they got hurt enough to. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, I was at work,
Long
and this
time
was
ago.
newly in our, and Jessica was just over there to see the kids. The kids,
Yes.
when Jessica and I got separated, she left the kids with me. So I had all three
Yes,
kids
Loretta.
when that happened. And, so when Trisha was hanging out over there, Jess would just come over to see her children. I mean, she really didn't care that I had a girlfriend. She didn't.
Right.
But Trisha made it too hard for her to come in, and then she said, "I'm going to show you." She turned it into an argument. This is what I think happened now in hindsight. She locked Jessica out, and then she had her son punch her. And when I say this about my ex-son-in-law, he was a little kid. He was like 12 years old at the time, 11. He's off doing great things in his life. And then called the cops and said that Jessica hit her.
Yeah.
And she had a little bit of a welt, and they arrested Jessica.
But still, nothing ever came of it.
Nothing came of it
Nothing came of
because,
it.
These were the same naval police, and they were like, by the letter of the law, we have to arrest you.
But even if it had happened the other way and Jessica had whooped that ass, would any of you care? Or would y'all be like...
I mean, the bottom line about,
Yeah,
that's right
Andy's
now,
right. That's how it went down.
right, how things would be right now is if something were to happen and someone has some irrefutable proof or video of me doing whatever, it would, and the cops came and arrested me. Not here, but, say in North Carolina, because the same thing, they would say the same thing to me that they said to her when she beat up the registered sex offender.
Yeah.
They let her out of jail and they said, you can't go around hitting people, but you picked the right one
That's
to hit
why
if
you're
you're
not
going to
gonna
do
do
it.
time.
Because he's a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
And she would have never gone to jail
Right.
if she didn't keep making a mockery of the legal system. And I was paying for that attorney until I left. And then when I left, she went to jail. But it would be a very similar thing. And the cops in North Carolina would be like, dude, we told you this was going to happen.
Exactly. And Loretta, that's a good point. Loretta says, I've been married for 25 years. At least half of our fights over the years were my fault, maybe more. That is the other fascinating thing to me, that she cannot accept that any of the issues, any of them, were in any way her fault. So let's say that in a perfect world, it was, just a really, really bad marriage, and she wasn't the one that, is a malignant narcissist and has some, she won't admit that she was a problem at all. None of it was an issue. Yeah.
So right now, if you were to interview her in her life, and then it was, my stepson's dad in that relationship, none of that was her fault. All the time she had the guy in trouble, had him arrested.
Remember the dream space landlord? She said she was pretty sure that he wanted to do something to her.
Yeah, everybody
wants her.
That's her go-to because somewhere in her
Right,
life
naturally.
she got some. Yeah, so my stepson's dad, my stepdaughter's dad, who I talked about, me. There is another guy, and I don't know what police force.
Bob.
But no, there was another guy, and I don't. His name was AJ. I don't know what his last name was. He was another cop.
Really?
That she had fired from some police. This is just some story that I knew about.
She's got a thing for uniforms.
It's just like she was a
badge bunny.
You have a badge bunny, but then you've got the psycho badge bunnies that get all the guys with the badges in trouble. And there's other stories that have come up. But
yeah, that's why it's so crazy.
So if she was to be interviewed in every one of these people,
come here.
She would tell the story about everyone. And guys, I'm not talking about 4 or 5 people throughout her life, not just her partners.
Tens.
Dozens of people.
And she started when she was fairly young.
Yeah, mostly all men. Occasionally there's a landlord that's a woman. Or there's a a dispute.
But she
with
didn't
a woman.
fuck too much with
no,
women.
but she has to make it a domestic situation.
She even tried to take one out on John's wife, right?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, but I don't know that one for a fact. I don't.
Yeah, I don't. And they were never ever separated.
No,
by the way,
they never split up. They never wanted kids.
So I mean, it is what it is. But the story that she was young and naive and whatever. But they were never separated.
Well, now she's old and expired. I mean, look,
broke down parts.
If we put, she's 45, but if we put this woman,
she's 46.
46.
I'm 45.
Put her next to Mandi and age them both. You're going to go down at least 5 years with Mandi, and you're going to go up about 7 to 10 with her. Seriously. Well, Mandi, you look like you're not a day over 40 or 29 or whatever, but you look younger for your age, and she definitely looks much older than what her age is.
And I've had substance abuse. I've got mental illness. I have those things. You have to take care of it. If you don't sleep for long enough because you're batshit crazy, so you take little cat naps for years while you're piling on the Adderall and pounding down the drinks, you're gonna look like hell.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're gonna look like hell.
If you get a bunch of cosmetic surgery when you're 25
maintain.
years old, right? When you're 25 years old, and your body physically changes from 25 to 45 as well. Not just just like your metabolism.
Well, I'll give credit for John though. He fell in love with her ugly ass before the surgery.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
From what I understand, and this is just her version, was that he didn't like all the surgery, and I think the point is this created a complete monster.
It did.
Well,
to even to enter a contest like that, like, ladies, be honest. If your local news tomorrow said it's the whatever state you're in, extreme makeover, if you win, we're going to do veneers, breast implants, lipo, all of those things. But you got to understand, that it's going to take some maintenance. In 10 or 15 years, you're going to have to update it. Would you do it?
But the other thing was,
do you care that much about your looks?
Okay, so we're going to give
you would do it.
The veneers, everything that you said, all this is for you, and you've got to do some commercials for us. People have found that commercial, right? And I think they've So he never did the commercial for the boobs because the guy was not licensed to do it anyway.
He lost his
So I mean, it's a double whammy, and the doctor was a legitimate the dentist and all that.
Thank you, Pretty with Pistols. I cannot imagine manipulating my child to hit me. But hooray for him, he got away.
Yeah,
he's well educated.
We're not going to go into what he's doing.
No, I'm not going to talk about that. But he made his own.
He did it, and he's in a very prestigious school. He's doing real good things. So,
but yeah, that's what I mean. Like, yeah, Moxie, I'll see you later. But would you do you care about that much of your looks, like that you would undergo surgery and do? And maybe the answer is yes. I don't know. I can't imagine entering that contest, and it has nothing to do with what I look like now. It's about the fact that I'm okay, but if you have implants and I'm doing it for free, I'm obviously not going to be in a position to update them. And when veneers do wear out, they have a life.
I mean, this is
will
all
I be able to fix it? Right? Will I be able to fix it?
Veneers don't last 20
No.
years. I think there's
They're
more
15
maintenance on more. Oh, so is there more
The
maintenance
longest.
on boobs, or are there more maintenance on veneers?
Well, I think that's relative to whatever, but her breasts weren't done correctly anyway.
To begin with.
So, I mean, I think under the best of conditions, they would have given out much longer before.
They've certainly
and I
given
would
out.
assume that, like, with her tummy tuck and stuff, my sister's had, don't you have to wear binding for 6 months? Real tight bindings while it heals.
I don't know.
If you don't wear those for 6 months like you're supposed to, it'll make a weird, awkward scar. And I think that's probably where that's from or whatever. I'm trying to see. Viola Hay, she loves the beach. Would only do things you can. That's exactly. I'd be like, okay, keep the boobs, keep the veneers. You guys know I don't have great teeth. I'm not self-conscious about them. They're whatever. But I'll be like, okay, so in 15 years, 10 to 15 years, I'm going to have to replace them because the teeth underneath them, from what I understand, tell me if I'm wrong, don't they grind the teeth underneath down small to put the veneers on? Once you have the veneer put on your real teeth, there's no taking them off and being able to just you have to keep putting them back on just because of how they put them in. Is my understanding.
I know there wasn't one bit of, besides the times where
Loretta?
where she'd run around saying
Loretta
that,
said I gotta stop watching her. The tatas make her cross-eyed.
they're gonna make you cross-eyed, man. But when you look at Mandy, and yes, I'm gonna compliment my wife again. Mandy has the jawline, or the cheekbones that people want to have. So some of the work that people get are to have these. So but even when they do that, they've got to maintain it.
They got to maintain it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm really bad at like taking compliments. But I'm just saying.
But I'm also
I always
using it
feel
for
like I have
context,
to like say I know, but like when someone says I love your dress and you go, oh, it's old or whatever, instead of just going thank you.
I mean,
like, you know what I mean? That's all you gotta say.
Look through comments just on our vlogs and in our every so often, which is often someone will mention the cheekbones. Well, they do. And
yeah. Apparently, thank you. Apparently, though, remember when whoever said I look like Grimace? Yeah. I said, what the fuck is Grimace? We've talked about this before.
There ain't.
I even saw a picture.
She doesn't even.
And
she was like, "What is Grimace?"
She's trying to say you're huge on the bottom but small on the top, and I was like, "Oh, and is this a character from McDonald's, right?"
So, guys,
is it Burger King or McDonald's?
It's a McDonald's.
It's McDonald's.
So when they say something like,
"That's a vlogger's dream, right?" He's small on top. So
Grimace is, Grimace has got a nice dump truck, right? So it's the same.
Remember the text messages that got out when TT was stalking Clint, sending Venmos and stuff and leaving notes on it or whatever. It got out. His wife was like, leave him the fuck, and just like send out the screenshots or whatever. One of the things that she did was she told Clint he had to pay for her boobs because he's the one that popped one. And he was like, I ain't paying for shit or whatever it was. And it was like, when you try to extort boob money from your ex, you may be white trash. I'm just saying. Maybe not. Maybe not. Here he is. Okay, look. Say hi. He got a haircut. He's here. He's here.
Yeah, we haven't been live since he had his haircut.
No. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. I miss McDonald's characters. They had to get rid of them, right? Because it was like teaching children that fast food was good for them or whatever. You like that? Mama Ricky has one of the funniest terms I've ever heard. A twat nacho.
What's it called?
An insult. A twat nacho.
Wow, like crunchy?
I don't know. It's just hilarious. Oh, thank you, Auntie. And you know what? I really appreciate that because it is so important that like the family, all of the family understands that I'm head over heels in love. I'm not perfect, but I love the shit out of him, and nobody's going to take better care of him than I am.
I think with my family, my extended family, and Andy said it, but I think...
Yes.
So all my aunts and uncles, right, and Andy's mother is, one of my mom's sisters, and there's 6 of them. There's 6 siblings, and I'm the oldest grandson. I'm the oldest cousin. So every one of my aunts and uncles, the youngest aunt is like 6 years older than me, 7 years older
Isn't
than
that,
me.
that's
Yeah.
so cool.
So they all saw me grow up. They know me. I used to live in the same town with them, and they, you know, all the other cousins, and now our children have all been through their formative years, but I was the first, right, Andy? So everybody kind of, I say all the time to our younger cousins that, yes, you're my cousins, but there was a time like in the 70s and early 80s where there was no other cousins. There were just a few of us, and all the aunts and uncles were much younger. I was the first toddler to toddle around them all. You know, the very
Yeah.
first one.
You're like the
You
coolest
know,
oldest
I
cousin.
knew, and you know, went fishing with Grandpa Hoffman in Indiana when he was still very lucid. You know, before you know his health started declining. I mean, I used to hang out with our special needs uncle when he you know wasn't in decline. You know, you know, there were times where Andy's mother and father, you know, I spent extended periods of time at their house. So all they ever want to see, and I'm not the only one in our family that had a crazy psycho partner,
Oh, I think every family does.
but there's
You
been a
might take the
few.
cake,
There's been a
but
few in our family, and all we want, all the aunts and uncles, all the cousins, whether you're close to them or you're not close to them, is they just want. They wanted for me. They just wanted somebody to love me like they knew love from their partners. That's all they want. They wanted me to have the same thing that they have.
yeah,
That's what they're grateful for in Mandy is like, okay, we don't have to worry about Sean and where he's at or what he's doing anymore.
yeah.
She's got him.
And I think
She's,
that
you know,
all of these people that are watching also wanted that for you. They wanted you to finally be like, okay, you know what I mean? Because it was just recurrent or whatever. And that was the biggest thing when we tossed around whether or not to have a channel together or not. The biggest reason is we wanted this transformation where he went from ash and gray, which he didn't even realize he looked like that. He didn't even realize how sick he looked until he started, you know, getting better or whatever. And he started, you know, doing therapy, doing all these different things, and the color came back or whatever. So
there's
I
more
think,
than just one therapist. There's more than one family member. I mean, Andy will tell you that most of the family, and we've got a lot of like law enforcement. We have a lot of legal
right,
people. We have a lot of you know firefighters.
yes,
We have a lot of public servants, teachers, and stuff. You know government administrators, and they would all say the same thing to me. They'd be like, "You're never going to live a decent you know life
right,
in this situation. You've got to get away from it." I mean, you know, they watched me grow up. They watched me join the army. They watched me go to all my schools, go to OCS, go to Iraq. They saw
yeah,
all that. They watched their oldest cousin do all that, and then just get into a freaking combination of a train wreck and a dumpster fire.
that you just kind of have to watch happen because the
And
person is,
and to the point where like you can't bring her around us. We're sorry.
yeah,
And so now that I'm back, I can, you know, if we were to call any of them and say, "Hey, we'd like to come up for a couple days," we'd have, you know, place to stay and all that. That's what you have done initially for the people that you met. They're like, "All right, she's not psycho. She seems to really love our cousin, love our nephew, love whatever." And okay, we can now move on. We can take that problem, which was Sean, and what his life was going to
yeah,
become, and we don't have to worry about it anymore.
yeah,
He's going to do what Sean was doing before.
yeah.
So, and that's
Um, they said your partner's supposed to pick you up, encourage you, want more for you. You know what? I totally agree. Like when you're talking about true love and a true partnership, you want when it's your partner's time to shine, you don't want the attention. You want to step back and let them get the attention.
thank you,
There's
Black Dragonfly. I saw your
something
comment.
really abnormal about someone who is constantly trying to distract the spotlight from their partner, from whoever. Someone's wedding. It's someone else's wedding, but you want all eyes on you.
And it's
not normal.
And it's not even your side of the family. You are a
Right.
spouse. It'd be like me going to
Right.
one of your
Right.
niece's weddings and just acting like a complete idiot.
Right.
It'd be
It's
it's like that person's an idiot. But Mandy,
Right.
Why did
It's not normal. It's not normal to go to an event that is someone's, happiest day of their life and to decide not only are you going to derail it and make it chaotic, you are going to attract all of the attention and you're going to keep people from enjoying what they're there to do, which is to celebrate the bride and groom. It's so, hey yoga, it's so unbelievably weird to me. You know what I mean? He'll tell you I don't like a lot of attention anyway. He'll go, oh, I know them from the post office. We don't have to talk to him, dude.
I know. So I know so many
We
people
do
around town.
normally,
It's
but
like,
I'm like, do we have to talk to him?
Mandy eats lunch with me about every day.
Don't lie, it's every day.
Well, unless you've got something with the
Oh, yeah,
charity
yeah.
or whatever, something going on, or when you were working. And we go in the parking lot, and about 50-50, she either brings me lunch or we, I
Because I don't want to be roller grill.
And we sit there and we enjoy each other
Have
for
a
an
good
hour.
night, Mama Ricky.
But she'll tell you from the time I get out of the car and walking from the building, I'm waving to people, saying hi to everybody. And
he's like, that's who we're gonna get the goat from when we decide to get goat. And I'm like,
it's just
well,
because
hey.
and it's not everybody in town, but it's everybody that comes to the post office. So
Right.
we might be in Walmart, and especially if we're in a hurry, and Mandy will go, okay, now Sean, I love you, baby.
Right.
I love you with every breath I have, but we don't have time to talk to anybody.
Yes,
you can't say hey to everybody. And that's kind of a polar opposite of what you were used to, though.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I just but having said that, I'm super proud when I get to meet people that Sean works with. And to his it's so funny because in the beginning we'd run into people at Walmart and I'd be standing there and he'd talk to them and be like, hey, or whatever, and then we'd kind of walk away and I'm like, you didn't even introduce me. And he's like, I'm so not used to introducing myself.
And I feel horrible.
Right, but you don't do it anymore, but I'm so used to not having anyone acknowledge because I don't want anyone.
Normal, healthy.
She'll go look him up on Facebook and stalk him. No, I'm serious though.
In a normal, healthy relationship, it's borderline just disrespectful not to introduce your spouse. And I just didn't have the skill that I just was like, all right, you go over there.
It was like the first 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
And you
remember the first time when our carrier, who I'm friends with, remember when I saw her at Walmart and you were like,
I was just about to say that. We saw her at Walmart and she's a kind of an aloof, dry humor kind of thing. I didn't know this about her, and she goes, we were there and she looked at Sean and she goes, what are you going to buy me?
She and just walked. So you're walking with your partner and some girl just looks at him and goes, so what are you going to buy me? Mandy was like, what the fuck? And it was just one of my friends from work, We
just kept walking and I was like.
She was, and the next day.
I said, you might want to tell her that's her get out of jail free card because that's not, you don't just slyly say that to someone. You know what I mean?
And so the next day, she's like, oh my gosh, your wife was giving me the stank eye. And I was like, yeah, but Mandy knows her and they're cool.
It was funny. Yeah, it was funny though. It was like, Clancy says, we're not Sean's flying monkey, Sean's friend. Exactly, something you don't have. The only thing that's good, Kentucky, go meet Roger B.
Debbie says, Mandy, would Sean like some new Steve Madden?
I don't even know what that is. I was trying,
I'm not
I thought
sure.
Madden, like the video game? Madden?
Oh, that would be Tom Madden.
I don't know what it is. I'm probably supposed to know what it is. Hey, Steph, I hope I've seen you in here today. I'm hoping I said hi. And that's the other thing.
So there was a question.
Sarah.
ASMR with Diamond was like, how bad is this meltdown going to be? And, the reason why I don't talk about this more is because quite to the contrary, it's fuel.
Yeah.
I mean, she's going to see this and watch it. She's going to listen to me and Mandy talk about her. And even though it's in a horrible, disgusting light, that is fuel for the narcissist. Yeah. So just keep that in mind.
Contact via third party.
It's contact that I don't give her.
Right.
That I,
the Cubbies are winning.
That might be. I hope that answers the question. You might be.
Viola's a little bit behind in the conversation. She's like, hell no, I would get a reduction. So she must be a little bit behind in the thing.
I I know, Presley, that the Braves were down 2-1. I think the game's probably
Presley, I
over.
might want to get lucky. Don't be telling them that the Braves are losing. That is definitely a buzzkill. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, the Mavericks are about to come on too. So
I'm just kidding.
yes,
Hey,
let's
Peps,
see.
it's good to see you. We will. Any more
The White
pressing
Sox
questions?
won 3-2.
Hey, guys, listen to this. I've said this before, but I'm gonna say it again. I get cracks in my feet. It's like hereditary. Like no matter how much lotion I keep on them or those aloe socks or whatever, you get cracks in your heels and they're painful. You that get them, I'm the only one that's admitting to it, but a lot of you know that you get them. Loretta told me, because I was saying what, they crack and they're dry and she like the cuts can be deep. And she was like, super glue. So it's funny. I've discovered super glue. I don't get them hardly as much, very often anymore, but when you go get a pedicure and you've got your heels super glued, it really confuses them because they go to like do the file and they're hitting like, you know what I mean? It's look, I'm gonna just tell you, super glue. If you have the little cuts on your fingers from the wintertime when they get dry or whatever, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're probably right, Hey. No more long-term relationships. Only one night stands. I don't this whole crazy is in the eyes, right? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like she's no longer able to hide it. Like it's right there.
Yeah, when you are young and
Yankees
everything
are
is
5-0.
not. What's that?
Yankees are 5-0.
I know. They're good. Here's the thing about the Yankees that I'm not a Yankee fan, but I really like Aaron Judge and I really like Juan Soto.
Okay, stitching.
So
cool.
it's like one of those things where I love to watch both
good.
those guys hit. Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, they're on the same team.
He's mad at Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, so all of my like really
mad.
favorite players end up in the Dodgers. Like Freddie Freeman was here for years. He's a Dodger. I love watching Shohei. He's now at the Dodgers. The only thing that could be worse is if Mike Trout went to the Dodgers. But I was a big Mookie Betts fan when he was coming up. He's a Dodger, and I just don't like the Dodgers. I can't like the Dodgers.
You don't have to like the Dodgers. Band-Aid glue too. That's pretty cool. Stitching says foot baths. Maybe I'll get one of those things. Rattlesnake hands, pleather, alligator shoes. I think I know who that is. Correct me if I'm. Yeah, I don't. Roger is an interesting specimen. He's been around for a very long time. Nobody really ever paid attention to him except that he always had a weird thing going for. He would always go for Shannon, which is really freaking weird. The weirdest people decide that they don't like Shannon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Spirit Finder and stuff like that. It's weird.
And Shannon is,
Look at Viola,
pretty
you're
good
so
at going after somebody and dragging people. So it ends up being whether you don't even have to take a side. You just listen to it happening.
right.
and
Hey,
it's pretty
Tinger
funny.
Soil. Suzanne, hubby, and son went to the Phillies season opener on Friday, and Braves won.
Of course they won because they're the Braves.
Yeah, y'all talk good about the Braves.
So
Night,
so
Kelly.
Andy,
Thank you for not leaving. Thank you for that being an April Fool's joke.
I grew up with the Yankees when I was growing up, and I'm not a big Yankees fan, but I think with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, and I am really been following Jason Dominguez since and he's going to be available, I think, after the break. And I think that can be an outfield. Dominguez is a young kid, but it just happens to be three guys that I really like to watch, and they're going to be right in the middle of the Yankees lineup. The Yankees' problem is they get into so many awful contracts, and they spend a whole ton of money. And even Aaron Judge, his contract, he's worth every penny right now, but will he be worth every penny in 8 years? And so as a byproduct of that, the Yankees have one or two really good starters and then just not enough pitching to go on a postseason run. I think that's just, they got the best pitcher in the game in Garrett Cole. I think that's true. But then who else is going to step up and even be the number 2 guy?
Why don't you and Andy do a sports show? Andy, would you want to do that? That would be a good idea.
We could do it.
Sean and I always think we're one brilliant idea away from being millionaires.
Almost.
Not really millionaires.
And then we're like, man, if we got up and just turned those cameras on.
Well, what happened with the cameras, the biggest issue I find, they're good for security. They don't take real good, high quality, zoomed in pictures, obviously.
Andy says they just need to find their heart. And that's the thing. It should not be hard to find if you're a Yankee. I mean, just with their lineage and their history, I mean, that city,
Totally
it's just interesting.
Totally not like diverting and trying to like attract attention, but I do have a serious question. When I was growing up, my family a lot of times called people from up north that were rude Yankees, and they told me not to say at school, not to say it. It wasn't very nice. So if they're stripping all these teams of their mascots and their whatever, then why are they keeping the Yankees? Because I thought that was a rude thing.
I mean, even down here in the South, when they call people Yankees, you know, it's. You're right. And it's like what we're talking about, you know, how many guys that are on the actual Yankees are from New York? A few. But you're right. But it's just like all the other names.
It's not as serious as touchy race issues.
But it's like,
it is
this
an
is
insult.
the other thing that Mandy, about baseball, that Mandy.
Right. Hey, you. That's exactly why.
So Mandy is like when the sign stealing scandal happened in Houston. Right. We lived in Texas.
Oh, my God.
Even though Mandy's uncle played for the Red Sox, most of, and they still follow the Red Sox. I tell you, the best conversation I had with Uncle Ray was when I talked about Fenway. He snapped right back in. He was more interested in my military service than baseball, but Fenway, you know, because that's, I mean, he won 18 games in 1969 and was an all-star for the Red Sox that year. But but most of the family, Mandy's family, are Astro fans. So then there was this sign stealing scandal, and I'm a sports fan, and I'm like, it's kind of like this betting thing with Shohei Ohtani.
For the people who don't know what sign stealing is, tell them what sign stealing is.
Mandy literally thought at first that they were stealing physical signs,
like not just like
they were going out and stealing
like if they had World Series champions. I thought they were taking their signs, like literally taking their signs, not like Totino's pizza roll signs, but literally like their prized signs, things that they had gotten for. And so I was like, why don't they just tell them to stop or arrest him?
Right. So I started to explain to her, no, they're stealing signs. They're using means to steal the signs from the catcher so that they know what the pitcher is throwing. Mandy thought about that. Now, this is a gal that's not like, she's just thinking from like a non-sports. She said to me, so fucking what? And I'm like, whoa, you can't steal signs. So you're not trying to figure out what the pitcher's throwing?
Right.
And I'm like, well, of course.
So if you know what they're throwing, you ought to be knocking that shit out of the park, right?
So it was a very good point, because I was like, well,
if you know they're throwing a knuckleball, then you know what to expect.
You can't use electric technology. It's kind of like the scandal in Michigan with, stealing.
I was like, then change it up.
And she was like, but that's ridiculous. The whole idea is to know.
Right.
And I had to go, yeah.
So why is anyone getting struck out if they know exactly what they're going to throw?
It was just very interesting.
And that someone that he doesn't think is cheating.
Who?
Ray doesn't.
Right.
He doesn't think it's cheating.
No, I mean, so this is a pitcher, Uncle
Change
Ray,
it up.
that pitched he was a starting pitcher for 10 years, right? In the major leagues. So that's pretty good. I know he would say, well, I was okay. I was like, you're starting pitcher for a dozen years in the major leagues. That's more than okay. Made 2 All-Star teams. 59 and 69.
Oh, okay.
He was on the All-Star teams. And, most of my family members, Andy, will tell you that a Red Sox fan know who Ray Cope was. They know who he is.
Yeah.
But he doesn't think it's a big deal.
I don't think it is either. But yeah, I thought they were stealing their signs, and I'm like, well, get the damn things back and arrest them. What is it? Yeah. And but like he said, I was like, isn't that the point? Like, isn't that the point to figure out what they're throwing, like decode?
And I was like, well, if the guy's on second base and he can tell,
right, Tinger soil?
And he can or they can say something like, okay, well, the pitcher's tipping his pitches. Like when he does this, this pitch is coming, that pitch. That's okay. And she's like, well, what the fuck difference is it?
Yeah.
If you can catch him doing that, or if you're catching,
then you ought to be knocking that shit out of the park.
Yeah.
Like,
so it was a pretty good
right.
argument.
It
you
says,
know,
hope the Astros do better this season. Last season they were horrible. They would literally act like they were asleep out there.
The Astros.
Yeah.
Well, I think they almost won it again, didn't they?
Last year.
They went pretty deep.
Well, but maybe they were bored. Maybe they were smug. My sister was an amazing softball player. She went to All-Stars every year. You know what? Her team, I've heard of that happens quite a bit, like with a bunch of different sports, like when the parents super involved or the coach, and then when they go, they're not into it anymore. Those are major scholarships. Good female softball players, those scholarships are huge. Like they will completely carry you through any school.
But Sarah said my dad was her team's coach.
Yeah.
And when he died, she didn't play anymore. That's
the Cubs won.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely, and anybody who I have a friend of mine who I went to high school with, that son, and I'm not going to share it here because I don't want everybody to go freaking find my friend, but his son made the Oakland A's. He's on the A's. Presley, I'll let you know who it is. It was a high school buddy of mine whose son he got drafted a few years ago, and he's worked his way up, and he cracked the roster. And everybody that tells you that's a family affair.
Yeah.
I mean,
because literally one day they call you up and say we need you.
But from
right?
the time the kid said like his mother's like he said when he was 3 he was going to be a professional baseball player, and from then on, I mean, it's just like.
But that's what I mean.
Right. But like making sure they don't miss the travel stuff, just all the equipment, what it costs, making sure they get the workouts, and because really the bottom line is it's the kids' dedication to it, his workouts and this and that.
And it happens that quick though. They're in the minors and all of a sudden they call him, right?
Yeah, well, there's a series of ways people get breaks, and he's very, very good. Like I believe that if he was catching for several other organizations, he would have made it earlier.
Right.
But that the A's had 5 or 6 catchers that are, coming through and that are pro caliber catchers.
Yeah.
They have another one, Daniel Susak, who they just drafted, and he's also a real stud. Maybe but anyway.
That's cool. Susan said if you took him away from him, you did a huge favor. Sorry you had to go through that, Sean. We've all been vulnerable.
Thank you, Susan. I appreciate that. I do. A lot of people will say.
Oh, that's cool, Sarah.
A lot of people will say something like, "Why do you talk about it?" Or they'll get on Mandy and they'll be like, why are you doing this stream or whatever? This is a YouTube thing now.
Yep.
It really is. When people they'll be critical of Mandy or they'll say, so you've been with Sean for 5 years. It's weird that you keep talking about the ex. Well, I can assure you that talking about this and doing, in the YouTube drama is a very, very small part of me and Mandy's life.
Yeah.
We're here because we have a lot of friends that are here that we talk to off the internet too. If this was something that was interfering with us, if it was interfering with she and I, if it was interfering with other parts of our life, that would be one thing. It would be like, that can't happen. But people are taking, our situation in this YouTube thing, this drama shit now. That's really what it is. It's drama. It's drama. And that's why 100 and some of y'all were here to hear the fuck shit. Mm-hmm. And I keep saying, it's like, I promise you, when Mandy and I shut off this live stream, we're going to watch the Mavericks and do whatever.
I was going to say, whatever is what we're going to do.
Yeah, whatever is what we're going to do. And we're not looking at what the other side's doing. We don't at all.
No.
So hopefully that's a good way to answer that. Hopefully that makes sense. I mean, if Mandy thinks that it's affecting me at all, she'd tell me. If I think, and if there was times where I thought that Mandy and the gang were, too far down the rabbit hole or getting too emotional about it, I tell her.
Yeah.
I tell her, I'm like, back off of that.
In theory, we give it as good as we get it.
Right.
Right. I mean, and like he said, it's the YouTube entertainment. there was 90 people watching this story that's been told before.
There's more than that.
But that's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's been told before. The only one that's still reliving it and rehashing it and letting it eat her alive is that silly, stupid skank over there.
Most of you guys that watch today, you watch for the entertainment. And then when you shut this
Have a
stream
good night,
off,
Presley.
you might go watch somebody else or
Right.
something. But you shut it down.
Or if she goes live, you'll watch her and you'll
Right.
see what.
But
like
then
it's all.
when you're done with it, you're going to bed with Hubs, or you're going to watch a movie, or you got to get ready to go to work the next day, or whatever. And we're the same way. And we have this channel, and we're here because y'all still like. But as far as watch us and listen
we
to
like
us,
to,
and
we
we're
like to
very
talk to
grateful
you.
for that too.
Very.
I mean, it's
and that y'all are so passionate about it.
yeah.
You know
and
what I mean?
You care. You know,
you're
like you're
so
like,
passionate about
that bitch is doing blah blah blah, and I'm right here with that, man. I'm like, man, y'all are great. You know, I'm okay. I'm gonna be okay. I'm gonna come on. If I thought for a second that this was going to be bothersome, or if it was going to be in my headspace or hers, I wouldn't have done this stream.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, because I can tell you one thing: she loves this attention. She's going to get a lot of mileage off of this stream.
She'll put it on her DVR and she'll watch it over and over
again. Yep. When she starts going into a cycle where she's really flipping out, guys, it's because nobody's paying her any attention. So if you really like to see those epic meltdowns and you like to see her do nutty shit, just ignore her.
Yeah.
And it'll ramp up. See, we gave her a little bit of what she wants, which is attention. And that'll be it.
She's a little bit of crazy, but she's got bad hair. And I have to say, talking about YouTube entertainment, there's nothing better than when the ex has bad hair.
That's right. But you know what? Wendy will be over there saying she's just having a bad day.
She's like,
I'm still waiting.
Give her a little bit of encouragement. What happens when they figure out she swatted herself? That's going to be interesting.
I think, guys, maybe we'll leave on this note. I still think that has not gone away.
It hadn't gone away.
For a YouTube situation.
Yes, Loretta.
That's YouTube, and then we're on to the next channel. Maybe we're going to go watch what y'all are going to watch. We're going to watch what Foodie Beauty's doing, or we're going to watch what such and such are doing, or we're going to watch what this person's doing. But real life, that stuff doesn't go away. I find it hard to believe that Onslow County, or whatever county that was, it lets it go, that there was a call that went in.
They're waiting to get her on something, and that
it
might
went into
be
what, like E911, right? Or something like that, and said, and with that report. Stand by for that.
Yes,
I think
Nancy.
but I think for somebody with that kind of mentality and that pathology, it's just another day in the life. They'll deal with that when it comes up.
It'll probably be when this other EPO matter is settled with her and someone else's, when they will move forward on it.
It's true. They usually don't let multiple things go on at one time, multiple cases.
And the whole argument that, like, you weren't in our marriage, you didn't know. We were all in on your marriage.
It's the
you
biggest,
put it everywhere. Everyone was in your marriage.
Like if Mandy took,
and that was the problem.
Yep. If Mandy took to her live stream and said something that her ex did to her, you guys would be, because you didn't see her life. You didn't know what her life was. If Karen or Loretta or Presley or Clancy or Stitching or Sarah or Andy did a live stream and told you a story about what their ex did to them or this or that, it's believable because you don't know what their lives are. You didn't watch them.
How many times did Sean walk in from an overnight at work or working all day at work, not having any idea he was walking into a live stream? And we saw the honest to God interaction. There was no violence there. There was no aggression with him. He was irritated for sure. But I would have thought at some point of these impromptu sticking him on cameras, you would have seen some sort of aggression. You went on Dr. Phil because you couldn't fucking get your ass off the internet for your family.
And
so,
I think
the
soundbite, I have never watched Evita. I've never watched the stream.
Yes,
I lived it, remember. I was in there living it that night. But I understand there is a soundbite where she's baiting me and I just look at the camera and I go, "Urgh." Like I just do it. And I've heard you guys talk about that. I went, "Urgh."
The original copy of the
I'd
video.
like to see that.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
Hopefully she'll put it back live, unedited. She'll put it back unhidden for April the 16th, because that is Vita. And keep in mind, everybody, that April the 16th, 2019 is completely different than any of these other events we were talking about.
Right.
That's just the end of it. And it's been 5 years.
And I'm glad that she finally made the mistake. I was hoping that somebody that investigated that and
Yes.
found that out for themselves, and they probably did, but they were coming for Mandy and I, so they weren't going to announce to the world that this shit was bullshit. Um, so yeah, she finally put it out there. Mandy was like, "Oh,"
You
she
put the
finally
date on there.
she finally put the picture up with the wrong date, and so yeah.
So I'm going to go into here real quick. Nobody go anywhere yet. I'm going to make sure I'm subscribed to these channels while they're in our chat, because some of them,
Black
don't.
Dragonfly is like, yikes, April 16th is my birthday. Well, maybe you can have Evita sing for your birthday.
And the reason it's called Evita for the new people is she pretended to have a personality change and said she was Evita, like from the prime minister's wife in Argentina, like that Evita, like Andrew Lloyd Webber's Evita, like that one. And you're like, okay, Evita. Did you believe she was having some sort of psychotic break?
I
knew she was in trouble.
I know she was drinking.
Okay.
That was the main thing. So one thing about her, it's like when the cops were there and she was bitching to the cops and like, he took all my wine away and he took my car keys, and the cops were like, "That's good.
That's what he needs
That's
to do.
good."
That's
You know,
probably a good thing.
We're not gonna tell him to give me my car keys and my wine back. And they were like, "No, no," so.
Yeah. But so that was why it was no issue with us. I always thought that if I'd ever did go through a divorce or get into some other relationship, that the person that I was with would think I was boring because I didn't drink, or not know what that would look like, that I don't drink. You know what I mean? Like that I can't being relative, but that I don't. And he was super supportive of it. He said that he thought it was awesome from the beginning. He thought a lot of respect for it.
Yeah, I thank you. I could look at it two ways. Number one, when you meet the love of your life, as I have, there is no sacrifice too great. I mean, as far as, lifestyle changes.
Yeah.
I mean, there is no sacrificed lifestyle. If it was like, I can't eat whatever, then we just don't eat it. In this case, there's, and she's told me, you can drink if you want. I'm just not. There's no sacrifice for me. The other way to say it is I've had enough of bullshit with alcohol related events that I don't need to drink anymore.
That's exactly right. Right, Clancy, exactly. Yeah, that was I'm in a different channel, so you're gonna have to there we go. Well, I was making sure I was subscribed to people, but I still can't go to their channels if I'm not signed in. It doesn't even look like I'm like one of those.
So Black Dragonfly is like, we will celebrate my birthday over the Vita.
That might be fun.
That'd be good. That
might be fun.
2 weeks from tonight, right?
If any of you 85 people know anyone who have that recording of that night, or at least most of it, there's bits and pieces that are public, but very little of it is kept public. Maybe she'll put it public, maybe she won't. I don't know. But that would be interesting. We might actually review it on the 16th if we can get a hold of it.
Yeah.
Sean just wanted to get the hell out of the apartment.
I have no desire to watch. Well, maybe from
you
beginning
don't,
to end.
but I'm just saying.
No, but I'm saying it might be interesting. It's been 5 years ago, but there's that one when I've had people say, especially when I was before we crossed over, and while that summer when we were just getting to know each other, there's more than one or two people that went, that whole part where you went, is priceless.
It was hilarious, and it really pissed her off.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't quantify it.
Yeah.
She couldn't. You were triggering her. She couldn't quantify it.
I remember when the cop came out of the house, and when that happens, you never know what bullshit they pulled. You don't know if they were gonna like show you a wound or something.
I do have. Hey, this girl's journey. I haven't seen you in a while. How are you? That's interesting. Another thing, so it's a joke, but it's not, because it really was said. This black and white grainy picture that, she tries to say shows some sort of bruising or whatever, but it doesn't. What was actually in the report when they said, well, if she does have this, what's it from? And Sean said rough sex, right? So I find it interesting that Samantha went ahead and shared that post where, once again, that tattered old thing was posted. And so Sam shares it and says, puts his name and says wife beater. Well, you posted pictures of your ass being black and blue from your neck to your face to your arms. And you made a comment that it was somehow some kinky sexual thing, that's what a woman does to please, or something crazy like that. I've got the screenshot somewhere. I'm not going to post it because I don't want to get my shit struck or taken down because it's so tasteless. But touche, my friend, you're bragging about your girl leaving you black and blue from sex. So what? I mean, it's so weird that you would turn around and share it, but it's because it's Sean. And also, it's weak. And you can keep sharing it. You haven't been there for it, and I don't think that she's congratulating the two misses on their nuptials.
No.
You need to congratulate them. They'll probably, those hoodies they were wearing, they'll probably sell it in commemoration of their wedding
They'll
day,
cut little,
which is not a bad idea. You know what I mean?
Look, they came for it again.
Why does it say Venmo though?
Because that one's what I sent you. So you know what's going to happen. I'm going to have to say.
Oh, the 38. There's some weird thing taking 38.77, and it's something that he ordered off of Etsy, but they didn't pay it, right?
Well, I'm going to have to reply and then I'm going to have to call
If
them up
you
and
have
go
a
through all that again.
38.77 charge,
If you guys ever
Google it.
Right.
Google
Just
it.
look out 38.77. If you guys ever ordered from Facebook one of those things that you can make a little
From several vendors. There's
Yeah,
several
so-
that use it. Yeah.
And you know, you could have like our first date or our first vacation, and you order it, and they send you it on that piece of like plastic, and you put a backlight. If you buy one of those, you are automatically telling
But
this.
they didn't pay it. They're not going to pay it. We said no.
So now that the card's blocked,
But that's fine.
That's fine.
Yeah, until we can
and then
we can
we'll
call
have to
them.
call. Yeah.
We love you guys. Thank you for being here. I hope it answered your questions. If you're watching the replay and you have any questions, put them in the comments. Keep them respectful and whatever, because if not, they'll get removed. Right?
There's a few things that we have.
Or
in
if
the
there's any other
filters,
stories.
You know, there's filters that, so if you have certain people like names and stuff, they won't come through. So you got to get kind of creative with the comment, because
Yeah.
you just do.
But it's whatever. It's like, you know, it would be fine never to repeat it again, but the stupid bitch just can't shut up.
Yeah.
Silly, stupid skank. We love you guys.
Thank you guys. Thank you, Presley, for the PayPal. Thank you guys for the support. We saw that. We're grateful,
Yep.
and we'll be back.
We will be back.
All
We're
our
always
mods,
back.
you guys rock.
Have a good night. Bye.
Peace.